An entire world is ready
for you to start your career teaching the path to wellness.
Mastering the science of mindfulness.
And the art of coaching.
To help clients achieve mental, emotional, and physical betterment of life.
Through movement, nutrition,
recovery, and regeneration.
Because impacting one person impacts a family.
Impacting a family impacts a community.
And impacting a community impacts the world.
Become an NASM certified wellness coach.
You are listening to the NASM-CPT Podcast with Rick Richey, the official podcast of the National Academy of Sports Medicine.
Hey, y'all, and welcome to the NASM-CPT Podcast. My name is Rick Richey, and I want to say thank you to all of you who tune in regularly. I'm getting emails from people. I'm getting DMs on Instagram from people saying thank you, that they appreciate the content, what's being said and how it's being said, and the guests that we have on. And so with that, I want to express my gratitude to you, and I'm looking forward to bringing you another great episode today with a guest that we have. And the reason we have this guest, his name is Dr. Laurent Bannock, and he's a consultant nutritionist, sports scientist. He's based out of Edinburgh, Scotland. And he works with elite athletes and teams. He works with them all over the world. I think he's probably settled down, maybe not as much traveling as he used to do. And he's also the founder and director of the Institute of Performance Nutrition based in Edinburgh, Scotland, specializes in applied research and advanced level professional education programs for sports and exercise nutritionists. And the reason we are having him on is because he was a subject matter expert for us in our new Certified Sports Nutrition Coach program. Welcome, Dr. Laurent. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Very excited to be here. Thanks for having me here today.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much. So tell me and us and everybody listening a little bit about yourself, your background, your education, and so on.
Well, I'll have to give you the zip down version because it might take a while. I've been doing it for quite a few years, worked all over the world, including in the States, but nowadays I'm in Edinburgh in Scotland. Like you say, settled down, but I'm still very active. In the last few years alone, I've worked with a variety of elite soccer teams, national teams, like most recently the Belgian men's national soccer team, or football team as we call it, which still is the number one ranked team in the world. And I wouldn't say that I only work in team sports like soccer and rugby. I also work with pro rugby teams, worked in a wide variety of sports, from physique athletes, getting ready for competition, ultra endurance athletes, military special forces units, tennis players, absolutely everything. Probably the craziest of all, though, which are the sort of Ironman triathlete types who are working all day and then should just go home and relax at the end of the day. But no, they're going to do another 20 miles just
so
to top
true.
off the day.
It's very true. Well, first of all, I want to say thank you for saying soccer, so all of us Ted Lassos over here know what you're talking about.
There you go. Love that show. Yeah.
I do too. It's so good. It's so good. Can I ask also, because I saw in your bio, you did some work, or you did some of your education at California University of Pennsylvania.
Yeah. So
what did you do then?
I actually have a long-term link with the NASM because this is going back sort of 15 something years ago. I was in the States for a number of years, sort of exploring myself and my professional training and education, and then started to actually undergo my own transition from prior to those days. I myself was a personal trainer.
Nice.
I segued into what I do now by virtue of back then I did the NASM-CPT program pretty much back in the day when it first started. That led me into doing my master's at California University, Pennsylvania in exercise science and health promotion, and I sort of went from there, and that gave me my trajectory into doing my doctorate and various other things. And I just didn't have the academic background to begin with. So I am so grateful for NASM and some of the people I studied with, not that I knew it at the time, are now some of your senior content producers as well. So it's funny how things have come full circle. So yeah, I have a close link with you guys just on that basis.
Oh, man, I love that. I love that story, bringing it back around.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about what it is that you did for this certified sports nutrition coach program. As a subject matter expert, what kind of information did you provide for this? Because, one of the things we're trying to do is, yes, we want to promote NASM's products, but I also want to learn a little bit about it, and people want to learn about it that may not ever buy it, but they want to learn some stuff. So what is it?
Well, you guys, NASM, have already produced a fantastic nutrition coach program. And that certainly delves into sort of the recreational exercise sort of arena, people going to the gym, that sort of thing. And whilst there are some similarities between that and what athletes will need, and by athletes I mean people who are not just going to the gym 2-3 times a week, even ambitious, people training just ambitiously at the gym doesn't necessarily mean they're trying to, run a marathon either for their own personal needs or for charity or whatever, or do a triathlon. I joked earlier about things like Ironman. Particularly since this pandemic has gone down, people's interests in health and fitness have gone to such levels that many people now are embarking on events that are certainly more than just casual flirtations with exercise and or just what's required for health, which is seriously important, obviously, in its own right. But the needs and requirements of somebody who's going to be running marathons or trying to win or compete quite seriously in things like basketball, soccer, baseball, triathlons, swimming. There's so many different sports, ultra endurance events, or very, very, very extreme, maybe even physique preparation events are going to need a more developed area of training and knowledge. And that's where we came in. The guys at NASM reached out to me and our institute here, the Institute of Performance Nutrition, to help co-develop this program with you. And a fair few of the content creators are all parts of our team here at the IOPN. And it's been a real pleasure to go into that journey with you guys, because we are involved in education, but our programs are postgraduate level, advanced level, sort of at the master's degree level. So we wanted to come at this from a slightly more practical perspective, and that's how we came about with this program, the first ever program too in this area that's working at these from recreational to quite serious athletes. Maybe not the most elite of athletes. You do need to spend a bit of time on that one, but boy, does this program go a long way to helping you get there.
Nice. So for those of you just tuning in, this is Dr. Bannock, and he is a nutrition specialist who helped to develop the NASM Certified Sports Nutrition Coaching Program. And Dr. Bannock, I'm really interested in what it is that we're looking to get out of it. So I got questions. So one is, do listeners need to know that any differences between nutrition in life and nutrition for sports and performance?
Look, okay, it is true. We're all human beings, right? So we have more in common than sets us apart. And by us, I mean people who are eating, drinking, exercising for health per se, and those that are looking to perform, where really the focus there is on function and functioning at a pretty high level. Whether you're a collegiate athlete, whether you're pretty serious about your running or your tennis or whatever, you're cycling. Lots of people, particularly during this pandemic, again, loads of people have taken up cycling, leading to global shortages in bicycles and bicycle which is great. But with that comes a different level of expectation from the human body as it relates to the wear and tear on the body, the stress and strain that level of regular exercise has, which is more in common in some respects with health, just enabling you to sustain that level of training, is different than just eating for health, though. But also things like fueling for the amount of work and the type of work that you're going to be engaging in is actually quite complicated, where, for example, different types of foods will have different types of impact on metabolism, even the digestive system, for example. And you just, in some way, your physical training trains your muscles, your physiology, your cardiovascular system. What you eat actually starts to change and adapt aspects of your metabolism and digestion. So you need to have a different level of knowledge to help your clients, your athletes, get better, more relevant outcomes. For example, somebody may want to be very healthy and very lean, but what it takes to get you to that level may not enable you to run at your fastest, or it may not support the adaptations to training that also require competition winning performance at the end of the day. So it's similar, but it's a different focus, hence it's a different course.
So would there be a difference then, for instance, if I'm doing a more anaerobic based workout, right? So I'm really pushing myself at a high metabolic level. I'm probably going to be using a bit more my glycogen stores versus fat stores. Do you eat differently based off of the intensity of your workout?
Absolutely, and we get into that in the course. And look, this stuff isn't relevant to people who are exercising for less than an hour, really. But if you're playing sort of 180, 160 minutes of a soccer game or an American football game, for example, or if you're going to go for a 2-hour run or a 2-hour bike ride or more than that, it does matter. There's a limit to the amount of fuel that you can store, which might be sort of minutes to an hour or so when it relates to glycogen or carbohydrate usage, whereas we have almost unlimited amounts of fat as a source of fuel. But it's not the same speed at which we access that type of fuel, and there are byproducts that are produced, like all this the sort of lactate stuff that we hear about. There are other byproducts which can include weight loss, not something you usually hear people worry about. Not eating enough can also be a problem that can hinder performance. I mean, you imagine if you're exercising for a considerable amount of time, there are implications for that need to be managed by somebody who knows more about that, and things like hydration strategies and so on and so forth.
I want to bring something up because this comes up quite a bit, and I saw on your website, and there was a post, and it was like keto and low carb and all that.
Yeah.
Right. So, and that's a big thing that's out right now. So the low carb, and I think one of the things that you talk about here, it's important because what people say is, I've heard people address this, like your body doesn't need carbohydrates in order to survive. But the important part is well, it's not about whether or not you survive, it's how well you want to perform.
Absolutely.
Right.
And do you know what my I have a few favorite words, and we pepper this throughout the program. Anyway, so one of which is context. The context matters. And actually, if we go beyond that to something simple like the word relevant, is what you're doing or is what you're going to recommend actually relevant for the outcomes that you're working towards? And those considerations might be acute considerations, i.e. in the next half an hour, the next hour, or the next week, or 4 years from now. Is what you're doing working towards going to be achieved by the sorts of things that you're doing? And what you've got to understand is different types of physical training, difficult types of performance will require different needs from the body in terms of nutrition. So very high intensity exercise does require glycogen. That you can't do that on fats. It just can't be done. Whereas if you're going to perform at a very low intensity level of exercise, which you may well do, if you're a recreational marathon runner, for example, or an ultra endurance athlete, then maybe we want to go down a path where we're teaching the body to operate more efficiently at utilizing fat as a substrate or a fuel to conserve those limited supplies of carbohydrates. But that might be at the expense of that person being able to run up the hill faster, to do the breakaway sprints and actually get to podium or the end faster than the other guy that's standing next to them. But also there's other things like, for the brain, the primary source of fuel is things like carbohydrates. Yes, ketones also play a role, but then we can think another way. You may be doing a carbohydrate restriction to maybe reduce your calorie intake, but of course you have to bear in mind that things like fats actually have many more calories per unit. But you might need to eat carbohydrates, for example, from grains and fruits and vegetables, because that also is where you find things like fibers, which is what feeds your microbiome, for example, which is a major factor for health. So anyway, I bring it back to context. What actually is it you're trying to do? So we will teach you concepts like there's days to train high carbohydrate, days to train medium carbohydrate, days to train low. It just depends on what you're actually trying to do. And then you fit the right strategy that fits the relevant outcomes that you're trying to achieve.
And when you talk about doing those different dietary strategies, they fit in differently. It's not just that you can do them, it's how they fit in with the athlete and what type of activity they're doing. So are they doing the triathlon, or are they doing a highly anaerobic sport like American football or
for example, when for those that are doing the NASM-CPT course, they become familiar with like the OPT model. You learn about periodizing of training. You can't just keep doing the same thing every work. You're just not going to. Well, we have the same thing with nutrition. You have to periodize your nutrition to bring about different kinds of adaptations. And like I said, it just depends on what you're trying to do. And that's what we teach you in this course from a very practical perspective. We give you enough knowledge to understand which strategies to use, which strategies not to use, and how to actually apply them into practice. So we're not teaching you to win a Nobel Prize in biochemistry. However, we do teach you enough of that to be able to understand how to make the right decisions at the right time. And that's the great thing about this program.
Dr. Laurent Bannock, this is the kind of stuff I wanted to hear. I don't know if, and for those of you listening, this is Dr. Laurent Bannock, and he is a subject matter expert on behalf of NASM for the development of the Certified Sports Nutrition course that is available now through NASM. It's a different course than the Certified Nutrition Coach because this deals more with sports performance. It is a performance-based dietary program, education. And maybe, I don't know if I've ever heard this come from a legitimate source, but the periodization of your diet, finding a different way to get your body to adapt to substrates. And I think it's important to talk about that, right? Because we oftentimes hear, just when it comes to performance, carbohydrates are very important. I think we all know that. But at some point you have to, if your body is spending more time getting those metabolizing carbohydrates and you're not really quite efficient as maybe you should be, especially for your sport, at metabolizing fats, then there is a way to eat in order to help you get better at what you're not better at.
Absolutely. And look, like I want to reiterate though that the less ambitious you are with your training and performance goals, if you're not intending to spend hours on a bike ride or compete at the best possible level you can get to at things like soccer or tennis or whatever, if it's very recreational and it's more of a hobby, then this really isn't sort of the area that we're going at, because your general principles of nutrition coaching will work incredibly well. And that's already very well covered in the nutrition coaching program. But this is about taking it up a level. And that requires, just like any sport, there are tools, there are specialist training techniques, there are specialist coaching techniques, everywhere from strength conditioning, from psychology, all the way down, of course, to what you eat on a day-to-day basis. And at the elite level, things like the types of shoes that you wear, the type of clothing that you wear, can make a difference. And it's those factors that we will get to in a lot more detail. So it's great for those that want to geek out on that stuff, that's for sure.
Oh, I want to geek out on that stuff. I want to geek out on that stuff. And I think it's, you brought it up. I think it's important to point out that this is for, performance athletes. This is not for your everyday, like people just working out at the gym on a regular basis.
College performance, for example, that's fine. That's why I like the word sort of ambitious, for guys and girls who are just looking to go out and go for a nice, bicycle ride or go for a jog. You don't need to do these things. But if you want to get a lot more serious about it, you're going to need to find somebody that has this kind of knowledge to help you get the most out of your training. And that's when you need that higher level of support, in this case, from a certified sports nutrition coach, for example, to take you to that next level.
And in this course, you are also still you're not just talking about what it is that you should do or could benefit you, but do you discuss how do you bring it up to an athlete? How do you talk to somebody? All the things you mentioned, like the psychology of it. It's not that you have good information. It's how you relay it.
Yeah, we take it from the science, so you understand what your client, what your athlete needs to do, and then you learn how to apply that information into practice, how to coach them, how to communicate that information, how to motivate your athlete, and very practical aspects from science to the plate, as I like to say. That's what this program will take you through.
I love it. All right. So here we are, ladies and gentlemen. We've talked to Dr. Laurent Bannock, and he's going to go through the content and the idea of what you can expect from this certified sports nutrition coach. And it's not for just like your workout clients at the fitness center. This is for those of you maybe who are focusing on the performance enhancement specialist or sports coaching content, to add a dietary, a sports nutrition component to your athletes when it comes to people who are working out, maybe that are elite level athletes, that are competitive athletes, but definitely people who are spending more than just an hour a day, that are putting in the work. How do you address nutrition for people who need the advanced nutrition components? And this is what this is about. So otherwise, the certified nutrition coach working with people on their diet, and they're coming to see you 2 to 3 days a week, and they're doing their 150 minutes of moderate to vigorous physical activity a week. You're good. You're good with the regular certified nutrition coach. If they are advanced level athletes and you are looking to work with these sporting athletes and really facilitate performance, this is the certification for you. This is the nutrition certification from you. Is that correct, sir?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Look, if you're going to work with people who are going to invest a lot of time and effort into their training, they're going to need to get advice from people like those that do this course to help them get the most out of all that time and effort. And this will put them into a particularly good position to really take it to the next level, which is why they're doing all that training, and why you as trainers, as coaches, do what you can to upskill yourself with all of your knowledge and scopes of knowledge that can be applied to assist your clients get to that very next level. It's exciting.
It is exciting. It is exciting. I'm looking forward to taking the course. If people have questions, they want to learn a little bit more about you, how can they do so?
Well, they can check out our main website, which is simply www.theiopn.com. That's the Institute of Performance Nutrition. Twitter and Instagram, it's @theiopn. Just reach out. You can also get me, just Laurent Bannock. You can see it spelt just here, Laurent_Bannock. I'm easily found on Google. Just message me on whatever channel you want, and I'll happily give you some answers.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to be with us. I appreciate it. For those of you who are here, thank you so much for taking time to listen to the podcast and learn a little bit more about the options that are out there to help progress our clients and the athletes that we're working with. My name is Rick Richey. You can reach out to me at dr.rickrichey on Instagram, or rick.richey@nasm.org. Thank you so much. This has been the NASM-CPT Podcast.